This is your energy forecast for November 2nd through November 8th. I'm Porcha with the Soul Card Studio, and welcome to week 45, which is also ruled by the Six of Spades. So the Six of Spades is a card of karmic relationships, mental clarity, and conscious choices. Now, I know that the Six of Spades has a bit of a reputation in Cardology because it, along with the Ace of Spades and the Nine of Spades, are the death cards, right? And so it can represent one of the three death cards, but when the Six of Spades shows up as a death card, it's usually related to karma in some kind of way. But let me set the record straight. This card is not just about doom and gloom, right? So whenever you see this card appear in your spread, just don't think that, oh, I'm about to die or somebody's about to die. What it could mean is that it could be a death to an old way of being, right? And so it doesn't mean death literally in that sense, but it could be a death to an old way of being, or you're getting ready to transition from one form of life into a new life. So again, it can also be about making peace with the truth, even when the truth requires change. So it's about choosing clarity over comfort. And also this last week we were in the Five of Spades, and this kind of shook everything loose. But now that number 6 is coming in to stabilize those things, but at a higher frequency. So we're not going backwards, y'all. We're moving forward, right? With wisdom on top of that. And in this week, we also have a full supermoon in Taurus this week. So it's about midweek, I believe, on Wednesday. So the universe is literally illuminating what needs to be shifted. So this is your week to shift. And this is the week, and this could be one of those weeks where everything clicks into place. And if you're willing to see things clearly. So let's dive in and check out the rest of the forecast for this week. All right, the astrology for this week. Look, this week is stacked with a whole lot of cosmological events. The sun is still in Scorpio until November 21st. And so we're in deep transformational mode, y'all. Look, and Scorpio doesn't do anything shallow, so you're going to have to go deep because it wants truth. And it doesn't matter if the truth hurts or not, right? It has to come to the surface. And so Scorpio is asking you, what are you pretending about, right? Because this is not the time to be pretending. This is the time to get real. Real with yourself about the things that you've been holding on to that no longer serve you, about the life that you're trying to create for yourself in 2026. And then what you need to release in 2025 in order to obtain that life. And so Scorpio is asking you to get real so you can make those transformations. Now, remember, it's a full moon, but it's also a super full moon, which means that it will be closer to the earth. And so its impact will be greater. So this full moon is actually going to bring a culmination of clarity, but also it's going to amplify everything. And to be honest, during this time, there's going to be a bit of tension between the Scorpio sun and the Taurus moon because they're on opposite axis of the zodiac wheel. And I know this better than anybody else because I am Taurus sun and Scorpio moon. So I have this push-pull dichotomy within myself. So I know this energy very well. Scorpio side of me wants me to transform, right? Wants me to regenerate myself. Then the Taurus side of me is like, look, we're good. We're stable over here, right? And so what this moon is going to ask you is to find stability through the change, right? And not despite of it, right? Don't stop the change or avoid it. Find stability within it because I can guarantee you there's something that you can anchor onto while you're going through this transformation. And so the Scorpio says evolve, but the Taurus says I like it here. And the universe says, look, we're going to change, but you're going to be able to adapt to the change by finding that stability. So let's take a look at all the cosmological shifts that we have happening this week. Okay, so we have some major shifts happening this week. And like I said, on November 4th, we have Mars that moves into Sagittarius, firing up your beliefs, your truths, and your courage to speak up. And then on November 6th, Venus enters Scorpio, making relationships passionate, real, and emotionally honest. So there's no more, small talk, y'all. We're about getting real. Again, we're in Scorpio season. You have to get real with yourself. No longer pretending, no longer being an imposter, right? It's time to dig deep. It's time to pull out the real truths so you can make space for whatever you are intending to do or have for next year. Now, what's also going to ground us into this energy is on November 7th, Uranus is going to be in retrograde, and it's going to dip back into Taurus for the final time since 2018. So this is going to close a 7-year cycle around money, values, and self-worth. So it's time for you to kind of reflect back about it back in 2018, what began transforming, and know that you're writing the final chapter now, right? With the Taurus, with Uranus being in Taurus. So know that you're closing this chapter in your life. Now, this week, the moon goes through a lot of changes. So on Sunday, November 2nd, we're starting off in Pisces. And so we're going to have a bit of heightened intuition, empathy, emotional reflection on Sunday. And then going into Monday, the moon switches over to Aries. So with Aries being the first sign of the zodiac, you're going to feel like a new burst of energy, probably have some more courage than you've had probably starting off the week with more courage than usual, and then also have independent thought, independent action, right? So Aries is that sign of energy, action, independence. So you're definitely going to be feeling those qualities on Monday. Now Tuesday, the moon moves from Aries to Taurus, and so we're going to begin boldly like in the sign of Aries, but then we're going to ground our momentum with stability and comfort right in the home of the sign of Taurus. So then that leads us into the super full moon on Wednesday, November 5th, which is going to ask us to be more emotionally fulfilled, sensual grounding. And of course, with this being a super full moon, those feelings are going to be even more amplified during that time. Now, Taurus is that sign that deals with beauty, money, stability. So those type of things you may be coming up for you on Wednesday, and you may have some satisfaction in one of those areas in your life, with the full moon amplifying that. Now on Thursday, November 6th, the moon starts off in Taurus, but then it moves into Gemini. And so we're going to be practical, but we're going to shift into curiosity, right? You're probably going to want to have more conversation. And then Gemini is a very mental sign, so you're going to be mentally agile as well. Now, on November 7th, the moon will still be in Gemini, and so we're going to be expressing ourselves through communication, versatility, and flexible thinking, because that's all qualities of Gemini. And then finally, the moon enters Cancer on November 8th, which is Saturday, and that's going to bring some softness, some reflection, some emotional nurturing to close this wild week. This is going to be a super crazy week, y'all. As I said, we have a lot of astrological shifts as well as the moon changing many signs this week. So buckle up. All right, y'all, let's talk numerology. So we're in November, which is the 11th month of the year. So 11 equals 2, 1 plus 1. So we are in a universal month 2 for November. So this vibration of the 2 means partnerships, balance, cooperation. So yes, relationships will be front and center this month. And it's so fitting, right? Because this is the start really of the holiday season. And so we know that we have Thanksgiving this month. And so it's going to be a lot of themes around family, right? So most people are surrounded by family during this time of year. So it's quite interesting that November is a relationship month. So just look out for that. But the first day of November, of this week in November, will be November 2nd, which is actually a universal day 4. And so this is really the foundation day, right? So this is a perfect day for structure, focus, discipline, and it's Sunday, so it's perfect for planning. So why not take advantage of that forward energy and it being a Sunday to plan your week, right? So go ahead and reflect on that for Sunday and then plan out your week starting on day 4, which is Sunday. Now, Monday is actually day 5 energy. And so on Monday, November 3rd, we can consider that a change day, right? So you can expect flexibility. You may have to be adaptable in areas and just go with the flow, basically. the message here on Monday for day 5 would be don't cling, right? Don't cling to what you used to know, what you used to do. Just go with the flow, right? Because change is going to happen. Change is part of life. And so we have to learn how to adapt to that change. On Tuesday, November 4th, we are on a day 6, right? So it's a universal day 6. And so you can consider this a harmony day because 6 is the number of harmony, balance. And so, again, relationships are going to come front and center because 6 deals with home, family, right? And so responsibility, and you're probably going to be looking for some type of resolution. And then also on Tuesday we have Mars that enters into Sagittarius. I'm sorry. And so we have two fires going on here. Mars is a fiery planet in a fiery sign of Sagittarius. Now, you would think that Mars rules Sagittarius, but it does not. Jupiter is actually the ruling planet of Sagittarius. So you will have the courage to speak your truth with grace on this day. So look out for that energy on Tuesday, which is a day 6. Now, on Wednesday, get ready for the super full moon. Wednesday is also a day 7, which actually culminates pretty well with the moon because now you get to get those spiritual downloads, those spiritual insights, divine downloads. And this is going to be perfect for meditation, journaling, any revelation, because again, the full moon is there to illuminate what was hidden, right? And so if you've been doing the work during the Scorpio season or up until this point, then this super full moon will help illuminate those shadow area, that shadow side that maybe you didn't see in yourself, right? So on November 6th, which is Thursday, that is a day 8. This is going to be a power day, right? Because 8 deals with abundance, deals with power, money, things of that nature. And so also we have Venus enter into Scorpio on that same day. So this is time to own your worth, honey, and stand in your authority. You're going to have all the energy in the right place on that day for you. And coming out of that day 7, which was Wednesday on that full moon, you should have even more clarity, right? Because if you were doing the reflection, the introspection the day before, then you should be more clear on this day 8 about what you're trying to accomplish. Now, on November 7th, with this actually Friday, and this is befitting because Friday is actually a universal day 9. So this calls us to complete, right? To end. It's called a completion day, to end whatever it is that you need to end, complete or finalize whatever a project or whatever you were working on or relationship or what have you. This is the perfect day to do that, right? This energy is going to be there to support you, and it's at the end of the week. Now, plus, we also have Uranus going into Taurus on Friday as well on the 7th. So you're going to be finishing up this 7-year storyline, as I mentioned before. So, again, that day night energy is just perfect for that. Now, on Saturday, November 8th, we start the cycle all over again, y'all, because now we're back on a day 1. So, this is the energy of new beginnings starting on Saturday. So, look for this energy because also the moon is going to move into Cancer. And so, you're going to be starting from, how can I say, emotional authenticity at this point and inner truth. Because if you've been doing the work this week up until this point, you should be standing in your truth and you should be clear about who you are and more aligned with your divine purpose. Now, I can tell you now, this week where the moon is traveling, there's actually a little pattern going on here. So we're moving from structure to change to harmony to insight to power to completion. And then back on Saturday, we're going to renew our energy. So, yes, I told you guys this week is going to be a roller coaster of energy. So, you definitely need to prepare yourself for that. And also pay attention to what I'm saying in this video so you can be ready for whatever comes your way this week. So, this is going to be a full transformation cycle all in 1 week. So, take advantage of that. So now let's talk about the Six of Spades, which is the card of the week for our spiritual guidance. So this card is also known as the unemployment card, right? And so anytime someone sees the Six of Spades, they automatically get a little, shaky in their boots because the card can indicate some karmic debt that needs to be repaid. And then, to be honest with you, all the sixes represent some type of settling of debt or some type of taking of responsibility of one's actions. But the six of spades is actually the most powerful of all the sixes because, again, the debt that you'll be settling with the six of spades will most likely be karmic. And so this is also known as one of the death cards, as I mentioned in the beginning, along with the ace of spades and also the nine of spades. So if you see the six of spades appear in the Saturn period for someone, it could indicate death. But what I mean by death is, again, I don't mean to end someone's life. It could be the death of an old habit or an old way of thinking or an old way of being, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean death in a literal sense all the time. So again, this card gets misunderstood because of that. And so people hear karma, karmic relationships, settling of debts, and they don't want to have no part of that when the six of spades appears. But, this karmic debt or settling of account doesn't have to be doomed, right? It doesn't have to represent doom and gloom. It could be purposeful, meaningful, right? The transition in your life, all this is just to heal you, right? To heal you and help you on your path of ascension in this lifetime. And so it just means that your soul is really learning through the connections that you're making in this lifetime. And of course, spades always represent work or health, work and health. So just know that it could be, you may be compromised with your health in this area, or maybe there may be compromise with your job or your employment. You may lose employment when the six of spades card shows up. So just know that could be some of the energy around that card whenever it does appear in your spread, or maybe even in this week, you may be feeling that energy. Now, the high vibe of the card, of course, is acting with integrity. So even when it's uncomfortable, the six of spades knows how to act with integrity. Resolving karmic cycles through consciousness and consistent effort. Again, this is all to bring awareness to shadow sides or shadow parts of yourself that you have not illuminated. And so don't always see things in a bad or negative light. This is just a way to transmute that energy into something more positive. So you do this by finding inner peace within yourself and aligning with your higher truth. And this is what the six of spades help you do, along with moving forward with maturity, discipline, and also grace. And also taking responsibility for your actions in your life, right? And for your work. So that sixth energy always has to deal with relationships, but also responsibility that you have in relationship, right? Don't always put it on the other person. What was your role, right? Be accountable. And so this will help you balance that energy, right? That willpower and that surrender part of yourself, in order to allow this energy to go in and make the transformation that's necessary for you to heal. So you need to trust the divine order when it comes to this card as well, and the timing while you're doing your part. Because again, that spades energy means work, honey. You're not going to get away from doing the spiritual work whenever a spade appears. And so just know that work will be spiritual. It'll be reflective. It'll be internal, right? And all this is just to help you heal so you can ascend and move on in your journey. Now, the shadow side of the six of spades would be resisting the change, right? You don't want to resist the change. You want to go with the flow, because if not, you're going to be repeating the same old karmic patterns that you've been in. And again, this energy is here to help you resolve that so you can move past that. Now, you don't want to act out of fear or obligation or ego, but you want to be guided, right? Be guided by your higher self or your divine nature. Now, you could burn out, right, from pushing too hard or being over controlling. So you kind of want to watch that this week with the six of spades energy, because that is part of the shadow side of that six. So you don't want to feel burdened or burnt out by the responsibilities that you're taking on, right? This should be light. This should be easy. It should be intuitive, right? This shouldn't be a time where you're all in your head, right? Allow things to happen and unfold naturally. You don't have to know the next step. You don't have to set expectations, right? Just set the intention that everything is working out for you and allow that energy to guide you to the next thing. Because another thing that happens with this energy is that people tend to become stagnant. They don't want to make the change, right? They get comfortable in the skin that they're in and they don't want to transition. And so this card is going to force you to look at that part of yourself in order for you to move into the next part of your journey and what has to be released. but also what are you taking responsibility for in your life, right? In order for you to make those changes, and how are you showing up for yourself? Because the 6 also represents self-care, right? You want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and what you need in order to make this transition happen. Now, this also comes with letting go of the guilt, the shame, the resentment that blocks your spiritual growth. And so this energy will help you shed that if you allow it, right? And don't resist it. So you don't need to find peace by avoiding the hard stuff, right? But that's not how we find peace. You find peace by doing the right thing, right? When you do the right thing and you show up for yourself consistently, that's when you'll start to see the changes, right? From all the energy that you cultivated over time. So under the super full moon in Taurus and this week's Scorpio transformative fire, the 6 of Spades calls for spiritual maturity in motion. And this karmic cleanup energy is not punishment. Again, this is purification. You're turning lead into gold here, right? You're shining spotlights on the shallow parts of yourself, and you're transmuting that energy into something positive that you can work with. So expect moments where you'll need to act with courage, or close a chapter in your life with integrity, or consciously choose peace over conflict, right? If somebody that you know that comes about and you know that this person agitates you, or you wind up arguing with that person, just walk away. Don't engage, right? That's part of the transformation. You're breaking the old cycle, because if the cycle was for you to engage in that argument with that person every time they pick one and you decide to walk away, well, guess what, friend? You have grown spiritually, right? You have broken out of that karmic cycle. Because every decision made from truth becomes a flame that clears the old, right? That clears the old darkness, right? The path becomes illuminated at this point. And so you be able to walk forward, because now the path will be lit for you to walk forward. And here's another key insight with that. Sometimes the 6 of Spades isn't about leaving a person, right? It's about leaving a version of yourself that no longer serves you on your higher journey, right? So think about that. It's not about ending the relationship. It's not about leaving a person. It's about you leaving your old self behind in order to embrace a new way of being that's going to serve you in your journey, in your higher self. All right, so your energy guidance for this week. So the first half of the week, we're talking about Sunday and Monday, which are day 4 and 5. So this is going to call you to ground and plan on day 4, which is Sunday. And as I mentioned before, perfect day to plan your week, right? With that 4 energy, set some structure, some routine to your week. And then on Monday, day 5, you're going to be more called to flow and adapt, right? So even though you might have set those plans on Sunday, just know that Monday, things may not go according to plan, but just be adaptable on Monday with that day 5 energy. Now on day 6, which is Tuesday, have that conversation, right? Harmony wants truth, and that number 6 represents harmony and also responsibility, family, home. So have those conversations, those deep conversations, because again, we're in that Scorpio season. Day 7, which is also the day of the supermoon, you're going to be in a reflective mode. And then also with that 7 energy, introspective, analyzing, right? Things that happened in the past, but open yourself to receive the daily energy from that moon, because clarity comes quietly, right? And so get in stillness, right? I don't call it isolation. I call it solitude, because in solitude, that's where you're able to be alone with your thoughts, with your nature, and be able to reflect on yourself and what needs to be healed and what you need to move past and what you need to plan for and set intentions. So use this time on Wednesday in order to do exactly that. Now on Thursday, which is day 8, you're going to take empowered action, set boundaries with your own power. And then again, coupled with Friday, you're going to be able to release gracefully on that day 9, which is Friday, in what's done, right? No longer carry that energy into 2026. And then Saturday, we're starting fresh, y'all. Day one again. And so we're going to begin it again. But this time, we're going to be softer, wiser, and freer because the moon will be in Cancer. And so Cancer causes us to be a little more emotional and have a little more emotional fulfillment and boundary set. So don't be surprised on Saturday if you're feeling a little, lighthearted, basically, with that Cancer moon energy, and start all over again, new in how you view your relationships. Because again, when I talk about starting over, I don't mean physically. Sometimes it may be a new way of thinking. Maybe you adapt a new habit that's better for you. So those are just different aspects to look at that. Now, the pro tip this week would be protect your morning on the full moon. Don't do any overbooking. Again, this is seven energy. Seven energy calls for solitude. It calls for you to be alone. It calls for you to reflect, to analyze, right? And this is only going to help you be stronger on the next day, which is the day 8. So you want to schedule whatever heartfelt task you have on Tuesday, because again, 6 deals with that type of energy. So family relationships, conversations that need to be had, let that be done on Tuesday under that day 6 energy. Now you're going to take action on Thursday and Friday because you're going to be in the right time to take action with that 8 energy, and also 9 on Friday. And then on the weekend, which will be Saturday, starting Saturday, you're going to be called more or less to rest and then reset, right? Especially with everything that's happening this week, with all the cosmological energy, all the shifts that are happening, especially with the full moon. Definitely use the weekend time to rest and reflect. The journal prompts for this week: choose one or even reflect on both if you would like. The first one is, which relationships energize me and which ones drain me? So sit back and reflect on your relationships, whether it's romantic, business, or a family member, and really check your energy with those relationships, with those people, and how does it serve you? Does it drain you when you're with this person? Does this person energize you? Do they support you in your habits and your endeavors and what you're trying to accomplish? Or is this person always, negative Nelly, always trying to put you down, right? Belittle you. So really take a look and reflect on your relationships and figure out which ones are beneficial and which ones you could probably go without. The second question is, what thought or belief am I ready to release? Right? So what thought or belief are you ready to release this year? What are you willing to let go of that no longer serves you? And that is really doing some deep reflection and changing a part of your habits and how you think and what you thought was true for yourself. Because remember, a belief is only a story that you keep telling yourself. And thoughts can be changed in the instant. So if I were you, I would take the time to pause, feel, then write out the answer to one or both of those questions this week. And again, this is just to help you on your journey. Don't rush the answers. Let it just flow. Ready to release. Right? Ready to bring more magic into your everyday life? Explore the Divine Align Candle Collection. Each one is intentionally crafted to align with your personal energy and fill your space with peace, clarity, and purpose. Pair your candle with Divine Align Journal to document your manifestations, synchronicities, and spiritual insights. It's the perfect way to stay grounded while you grow. Also, join our Soul Car Studio Substack for free today and get your angel number tracker, which is a beautiful tool to help you understand the messages that the universe is sending you. And when you upgrade to a paid membership, you'll unlock early access to daily posts, my weekly energy videos, and exclusive access to Numi AI, your AI spiritual guide for personalized numerology. Visit soulcarstudio.com or click the link below to start your journey. Remember, your energy deserves to be aligned. Remember, beautiful soul, truth is love, clarity is freedom, and courage is how you bridge the two. This week 45 was guided by the 6 of Spades, and so it's asking you to see clearly, speak honestly, and choose alignment over comfort. So remember to stay radiant, stay aligned, and also trust the process, but more importantly, trust yourself. See you later.